So obviously we all have a handful of players in the NBA that we just absolutely love to watch. And recently I did a video on the 6 Rings of Steel channel talking about 9-ish of my favorite players to watch this season. And I was like, let's do this, but for every NBA team. So in this video, I'm going to be going through all 30 NBA teams and giving you guys my favorite player on them. I promise you that it's not going to be the best player from every NBA team that I'm going to list, but obviously it could trend towards that. So what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? I would also love to hear your favorite players to watch in the NBA that are maybe not even on your favorite team as well. So it's funny because at times this could be Ben Simmons, but he's just never healthy. So I'm going to go with Mikal Bridges, who maybe had a slow start to this season, but he's really been coming on as of late. I loved watching him at Villanova. I loved the draft pick for the Suns in the 2018 draft. Loved watching him there in Phoenix. And he has really blossomed as a top scoring option after getting traded to the Nets at last year's deadline for Kevin Durant. Bridges can find a shot anywhere on the floor. I love his insane wingspan that he's just able to get shots over anybody in the league. And obviously he's an elite defender as well. And he's a winning basketball player. And that's why I'm a Mikal Bridges guy. Next up, we're going to talk about my favorite team, the New York Knicks. And it's got to be Jalen Brunson. So Mitchell Robinson definitely gave Brunson a run for his money. And I'll be honest with you, I did not love the Brunson signing immediately when it happened in the 2022 offseason. But man, oh man, am I so happy he has proven me wrong every single day. Since coming to the Knicks, he has been arguably their best player since Carmelo Anthony. He's having all NBA caliber seasons and he's picking up right where he left off last year. He really carried this team in the Heat series. He's an absolute elite shooter from downtown. He plays hard on defense as well, and that's what I love to see from him. Maybe not the best defender in the world, but he at least tries for somebody that's a little bit smaller than everybody else. He's a fantastic ball handler, and he has incredibly high basketball IQ as well. I just love watching Jalen Brunson, and I actually just got his jersey the other day. All right, next up, we have another point guard. This may be a trend as well, because growing up, I love those point guards like Steve Nash, Chris Paul, Jason Kidd, and Rajon Rondo. So let's talk about the Sacramento Kings point guard, De'Aaron Fox. I absolutely loved watching De'Aaron Fox at Kentucky in the 2017 season. Just his ball handling ability with how fast he was the most insane combination in the NCAA that season. I love the pick for Sacramento in 2017. It took a little bit for him to come onto the scene, but man, oh man, over the last 4 years, he's been one of the better point guards in the Western Conference. Like I said, just being able to watch such a good ball handler who's also just so quick with the ball is just an absolute joy to watch. And I also think how much he's changed this Sacramento Kings franchise and just turned that team around really gives him some brownie points as well. He's been one of my favorite players since he entered the NBA back in 2007 for the Phoenix Suns. We got to talk about Kevin Durant, and I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. I actually did not hate Kevin Durant at all when he was in Golden State. I actually think I started disliking him more after the whole drama thing happened in Brooklyn. But this year for the Phoenix Suns, man, how can he not be one of your favorite players to watch in the NBA? He's somebody that's 6'11", shooting 50% from three, 52% from the field, can get any shot he wants. He can shoot over anybody in the NBA, has handles like a point guard, and I just said he's almost 7 feet tall. He has also one of the dopest nicknames in the NBA as the Slim Reaper. He's one of the greatest NBA players of all time, and I'm not taking him for granted as he is 35 years old now. All right, I want to say that this next player, I was a huge fan of him at Iowa State. I had him ranked 5th in my 2020 big board. I loved the Kings pick when they selected him at number 12, and that's Tyrese Haliburton, who's obviously taking the NBA by storm now. Yep, so Haliburton is my Pacers pick. I just love how good of a facilitator he is without turning over the ball. This man has insane court vision, super high basketball IQ. He's arguably the best passing point guard in the NBA, and oh yeah, he's scoring 27 points a night on 52, 44, 88 splits. That is just mind-blowing numbers. I also kind of love his personality as well, that he really wanted to turn that Kings franchise around, and then when he got traded to Indiana, he wanted to do the same, and it seems like he doesn't really care what market he is in, and just really cares about the team he's currently on and what's best for that squad going forward. So yeah, on the court, off the court, Tyrese Haliburton is one of my favorite players in the NBA. He's the definition of a winning basketball player, and I'm glad I get to watch him for the next 10 years. All right, we have a rookie on this list. It was almost Cade Cunningham for the Detroit Pistons, but I opted to go with Asor Thompson. I loved Asor Thompson in the Overtime Elite League last year, and at times his three-point shot can be consistent, but basically everything else on the floor, he is incredibly good at right away at just 20 years old. He's somebody that can rebound at an elite level as a 6'7" forward that's 20. He can pass well, he can block shots well, he can steal well, he could just overall defend so well, slash, cut, go backdoor, move without the ball. He's an incredibly gifted athlete, and if that three-point shot ever comes around, he's going to be one of the best forwards in the NBA, in my opinion. Let's talk about somebody that is absolutely balling out this year from the 2021 draft class. It's for the Houston Rockets, Alperen Sengun. Whenever you're a 6'11" center that can average north of 5 assists a night, you're going to be one of my favorite players in this league. Sengun's also averaging 21 points and 9 rebounds, and his offensive game has just taken just another step this season. I also love his improvement on the defensive side of the ball as well, and he's just gotten better and better each year since he entered the league in 2021. So I just mentioned I love big men that can pass. Well, this one's the best of all time in my opinion, and that's Nikola Jokic coming in for the Denver Nuggets. I'm also a big Jamal Murray guy, so this was a tough decision to make, but I just love watching Jokic just on the fact that after every play he makes, I'm like, how did he even pull that off? Or any jump shot he takes, I'm like, this looks so gross, but I know it's going in. Like I said though, he's one of the best, arguably the best passing big man of all time. Just the insane court vision, basketball IQ, and just his ability to be just 2 steps ahead of everybody else on the floor is just a joy to watch. And I'm so glad he got his flowers last year, and he's pretty much the undisputed best player in the NBA right now. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, it was also tough because I love watching Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, but I'm a huge Donovan Mitchell guy. I love Donovan Mitchell at Louisville, and when he came into the league at Utah, I'm still wishing every day that he would eventually be a New York Knick. But man, I think he's one of the more underrated players in the NBA. You hear about so many other shooting guards in the league, but not as much talking about Donovan Mitchell. For somebody that's averaging 25 points throughout his career, and he's averaging 27.5, 5 and 5 this year for this Cavs squad. For the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm going Pat Connaughton. No, I'm just kidding. I'm choosing Damian Lillard over Giannis Antetokounmpo. Even though Dame has had a rough start at times this season, I mean, I've been watching this guy since 2012, and he's just been one of the best point guards in the league since then. He's also just been one of the best offensive players overall in the league. I just think that stretch from like 2017 to 2020 when he became Logo Lillard was just so much fun to watch. And obviously that dagger 3 to eliminate Houston in the playoffs and then OKC a few years later are just some iconic moments in his long NBA career. For the Memphis Grizzlies, it was kind of tough. I'm not the biggest Ja Morant fan, and I also love like the versatility of Jaren Jackson Jr., but just at times he pisses me off as a forward. I think it's the whole rebounding thing. So I'm going towards Desmond Bane, and I think a reason why I enjoy watching him so much is because I actually aced my evaluation on him in the 2020 draft. I loved him coming out of TCU. I knew he was going to be a knockdown elite shooter in the league, but he's really exceeded expectations more than I ever thought he could. I did not think he was going to be somebody that can average 25 points on pretty good efficiency. But since he came into the league in 2020, he's been one of the better 3-point shooters in the league, and right now he's my favorite player on the Memphis Grizzlies. This next player is basically my favorite player in the NBA, and that's Steph Curry. I mean, he's an NBA legend, man. He's going to be a top 10 player of all time when he retires. I definitely do not take Steph for granted. Somebody that just completely changed the NBA, is the best shooter of all time. It pains me every day to see him in that Knicks pre-draft workout uniform and just what could have been. But nah, Steph has just been one of my favorite players to watch of all time. Just what he could do off the ball and on the ball, his ball handling ability and his just movement without the ball has been just so entertaining to watch over the last 15 seasons. And it's really cool when you watch somebody get drafted and really see them develop and progress throughout their long NBA career, because I had no idea that Steph was going to be a top 10 player of all time when I saw him get drafted back in 2009. For the Miami Heat, I'm going with Bam Adebayo. I just love the versatility that Bam can provide on the defensive side of the floor. It is a shame that he's never won a Defensive Player of the Year award, and he's already been a 4-time All-Defensive member. I also think he's a super underrated passer as well, and I think if he ever develops a consistent 3-point jumper, he may be my favorite center in the NBA. For the Orlando Magic, it was super tough because I love watching Franz Wagner play, and as of late, I just absolutely love watching Jalen Suggs play, but I'm still gonna go with Paolo Banchero. I was gassing myself up for my pre-draft evaluations on Halliburton and Desmond Bane, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I had Paolo Banchero ranked 4th in this class, and he's proven me wrong in every single game so far in his career, and I'm okay with that. I just love watching Paolo play, and I really love his development as an outside shooter so far this season, and also his impact on this Orlando Magic's elite defensive squad. I fell in love with the next player's game in last year's round 1 against the Denver Nuggets, and what he did for Team USA this past summer, and that's Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, Ant's 22 years old. He's only 2 years younger than me, which is just crazy to say, and he has just progressed every single year as a true #1 option for this Timberwolves squad. I also just love how well this Timberwolves team has played this year, and the Rudy Gobert trade is finally paying off for them, and the sky is the limit for the Ant-Man. There's a lot of players I love watching on OKC, like J-Dub, obviously Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but I just love watching Chet Holmgren play. Just someone that's 7'1", that is an elite shooter and shot blocker already, and he's only played in 20 NBA games so far. He's an absolute unicorn for this OKC Thunder squad, and he's definitely going to be a future Defensive Player of the Year winner in my opinion. All right, speaking of unicorns, let's go to the first unicorn ever. I have a soft spot for him because my Knicks drafted him in 2015, and that's Kristaps Porzingis. Man, I just watched his appearance on the JJ Redick podcast, and I was just like, damn, what could have been with him in New York? Because from 2015 to 2019, Knicks fans absolutely love this guy, and it's a shame that he did get traded in the 2019 season to Dallas, and I'm so happy that he's really bounced back in his career for teams like Washington and now Boston. Just a 7'2" guy that's an elite shot blocker and can be an elite shooter from downtown as well is just so much fun to watch. All right, I do live in Philadelphia, and I think everybody here loves Joel Embiid, but they also love this guy too, and so do I. It's Tyrese Maxey. Man, just so many Kentucky guards on this list. It's kind of crazy. They produce so many stud guards in the NBA, and Maxey is definitely one of them. Shout out to Nick Nurse playing him the most minutes per game this season. That's just the Nick Nurse special for you. But Maxey, every year of his career, has just continued to develop as a 3-level scorer, and he's on his way to winning most improved player this season. The LA Clippers were tough to do because they have so many NBA legends on the squad. They have 4 future Hall of Famers, but I'm not going with Russ. I'm not going with Kawhi. I'm not going with Harden. I'm going with PG-13. Just watching Paul George with his ball handling ability at his size at 6'8" is just so smooth to watch. Someone that's just an elite 3-point shooter, still an above average defender, and so crafty with the ball in his hands. I just love watching PG, man. Maybe I still have a soft spot for that 2019 season he had with the OKC Thunder, and just watching him bounce back from that gruesome leg injury he had while his time in Indiana and for Team USA, and being able to watch this guy get drafted out of Fresno State back in 2010 and really just develop over the last 13 seasons. The next player is right up there with Steph as my favorite player in the NBA, and that is Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks fans, you don't know how good you have it, or maybe you do, because Luka Doncic is already on his way to being a Hall of Famer at 24 years old. This dude is a triple-double machine and has been one of the best players in the NBA basically since his sophomore season. If he can get the rings one day, he could go down as one of the greatest players of all time. And like Jokic, like Halliburton, his court vision is off the charts. I love his playmaking ability, and I just have a soft spot for guys that are elite playmakers and passers. Not a lot of fun players on this Chicago Bulls team right now, in my opinion, to watch, but I do love watching Kobe White. Also, another soft spot for me, I loved watching him at UNC, which is my favorite college basketball team. Maybe that was my dumb bias for not liking Paolo Banchero pre-draft. But yeah, Kobe White has been a nice spark plug for the Chicago Bulls this season in what has been a very disappointing year. I'm glad he started every single game for them. He's an elite 3-point shooter now and really has been throughout his career. He's actually one player that Chicago did a good job developing. I'm not a huge fan of this Toronto Raptors squad. There's not really one player that I gravitate towards. Obviously, Scotty Barnes is such an up-and-coming good young player. I always loved watching Kyle Lowry on these teams, but I'm gonna go with OG Anunoby, and it's really just for his defensive ability because he has been arguably the best perimeter defender in the NBA this season. He's also been an elite 3-point shooter as well, and I'm really excited to see if he's gonna get traded at the deadline, re-sign with Toronto, or sign with another team in the 2024 offseason. Speaking of arguably being the best perimeter defender in the NBA this season, I mean, Herb Jones is right up there. The Pelicans were tough because I love watching Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Herb Jones, and even Jordan Hawkins this year as a rookie as well. But I just think Herb Jones's development as an outside shooter, overall scorer, and obviously what he does on the defensive side of the floor. In my opinion, he has to be a forward spot on the all defensive teams right now. And I do think he's one of the more underrated players in the NBA. Let's go over to Portland. It used to be Damian Lillard, but now it's Shaedon Sharpe. It's crazy because Shaedon Sharpe is still just 20 years old, and he has taken such a huge step from year 1 to year 2, it seems like. I'm not really too worried about his efficiency either because he has to do way too much for a 20-year-old on a really bad team. And if you really watch him, you could see he's getting better and more comfortable on the NBA floor. And he's also such a crafty scorer, just 20 years old. I can't imagine how good of a scorer he's going to be in just 5 years from now. Okay, we're on a nice run of like not so star players in the NBA. We're going to talk about Denny of D-Hop for the Washington Wizards. Denny's a guy that can do a little bit of everything. It is a shame that now he's playing the best basketball of his career, but he's on such a poor Wizards squad. But Denny's going to give you efficient scoring. He's a solid rebounder. He's a good passer as well. I know they have a much better point guard in Tyus Jones, but I'd love to see the Wizards experiment with point guard Denny, or just him running the offense a little bit more. And he's still just 22 years old, and he's getting better and better each and every season. For the Atlanta Hawks, it's also a tough team for me because I love watching Trae Young as a playmaker, but sometimes just like as an overall offensive player, I'm not the biggest fan at times. I used to really like DeJounte Murray, but for some reason, whatever happened with him and Paolo Banchero a few off seasons ago really turned me off on him. So I'm gonna go with the guy that's breaking out this season, and that's Jalen Johnson. I've had such enjoyment watching Jalen Johnson this year before he got hurt. Talk about somebody that's improved every aspect of his game from last season to this season. As a rebounder, as a passer, as an overall defender, inside scorer, outside scorer. Jalen Johnson would have been right up there in the most improved conversation if he didn't get hurt, and hopefully he still comes back fully healthy from that wrist injury and can be right there in that conversation. Last year, my favorite player on the Spurs was definitely Devin Vassell, but this year, it's gotta be Victor Wembanyama. He's just a spectacle every time you watch the Spurs. Like, how can you not point out that 7'4" unicorn on the floor? And every time I'm watching the Spurs, I'm just like, I want to focus in on Wemby. I know his popularity and media attention has just been absolutely insane this season, but I really don't want that to stray me away from just the enjoyment I get from watching when I watch this brutal Spurs squad. All right, I'm going to be honest with you. I have not really been the biggest LeBron James fan throughout his career. I mean, I identify him as a top 2 player of all time. I was just never somebody that was going to become a Heat fan because LeBron went to the Heat, or become a Cavs fan again when he went back to them in 2014. But I do not take LeBron for granted. And I don't think I really appreciated how good he was till the last couple of years when he's been balling out north of 35. Like, this dude is turning 39 this month and is averaging 25 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists, shooting a career high 40% from three. How can that not be your favorite player when you watch the Lakers? I'm appreciating his greatness every single year that we get to watch him, and something I definitely need to do is go watch LeBron in person. I never really got to do it, and I need to go see him before he retires. He's currently hurt right now, but I just love watching LaMelo Ball play. He just makes the game look effortlessly when he's on the floor. Like, it doesn't even look like he's trying at times, and he's just gonna end up with 25 points and 10 assists. It's a shame that he hasn't really been on too good of Hornets squad since he entered the NBA, but hopefully that will change after they drafted Brandon Miller and Mark Williams over the last few seasons. And lastly, for the Utah Jazz, it's Lauri Markkanen. I really wasn't the biggest fan at times of Lauri Markkanen towards the end of his Chicago Bulls tenure and his time in Cleveland. And since obviously when he broke out last season, he's been one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. I mean, he's someone that's 7 foot tall that is going to shoot close to 40% from three, average 24 points and 9 rebounds a night. Like, how is that not super entertaining to you? I do wonder what his next contract is going to look like. And I got to see how important he is to this Jazz team in person last year, and the dude is still just 26 years old. So yeah, that is gonna be it for me. Hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know some of your favorite players in the NBA in the comments below. Drop a like if you guys do enjoy these style of videos. I would really appreciate it, and I love you guys like always. And remember, if you are gonna play Underdog Fantasy, please play responsibly. You can follow me on Twitter in the description below. Hope you guys have a great Sunday. I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.